Hello, my name is Kendra Bell, and I'm so excited to get together with you on November the 8th because if you're watching this and you saw my title, then you are a Lovecraft Country fan. The HBO series was phenomenal. How Misha Green, as a writer, executive producer Jordan Peele, got together and created a tapestry of genius for us to rediscover ourselves is phenomenal. It creatively reopened not only the intellectual evaluation of racism, sexism, and classism juxtaposed with the horror genre. The very genius of compelling people to compare and contrast the horror of racism with the horror of monsters and supernatural beings was genius. And it got a lot of people to really think about, damn, that's some scary shit. Am I right or wrong? But not only that, but the show really also calls forth a metaphysical examination of legacy and ancestral knowledge, much of which has been withheld from us by our own family. And it was very interesting that we see that in 1954, Tick had no knowledge of his family beyond his parents. And there are so many people that have shared that same story. We don't know what happened down south. Our great grandparents, we don't know the successes and the power and the victory stories that they've had. They had to have them because we exist. There was somebody somewhere that survived something. Whether our great grandparents began in the continent of Africa or on the continent of Europe, or were indigenous to this land, there was something that they overcame. There was an aspect of joy and power and wealth that they experienced somewhere in our DNA, the power. And that is why so many of us have a desire to be more and to have more. We don't know why, we don't know how, we just feel like we should have. We should understand that we should go there and be there. But we don't really understand where that comes from because the quote unquote literal world would dictate that we shouldn't have, or we shouldn't want, or we shouldn't go, or we shouldn't consider. But what if magic, manifestation, and power are already in our DNA? Which it already is. But I'm posing that question to you because I don't think that we literally think about it. We are so consumed with the idea of racism or sexism or classism as this systematic racism, systematic sexism, and classism. But what if I told you it was magic? What if I told you that white privilege is magic? So much symbolism, decoding in the show. But anyway, I digress. Because I want to have this conversation with you on Sunday, November the 8th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Because it's so important for us to not continue to look at these shows as just entertainment or just wow. Because, we had to take back our legacy. And and learn to apply ancestral knowledge and get beyond coding. And that's what we're going to be talking about on Sunday, November the 8th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Because we are all on our hero's journey. You, me, the person sitting next to you, your coworker, your mama, your brother, your sister. We're all on a hero's journey. Just imagine, the book of names. What is your lineage's book of names? And I want to take us beyond the idea of this magical book of these hoogity boogity names and spirits, because the symbolism, the book of names, are the book of our ancestors that are waiting to empower us and give us knowledge. But we don't know. We don't know. Tick didn't know anything about his grandmother, Hannah, and how she escaped and burned a whole building down and fled pregnant. That's a powerful story for him not to know. And I bet you and I have similar power stories in our ancestry as well that we don't even know about. The idea of there being a place where our ancestors, with their knowledge, are ready to support us, but we don't know how to acknowledge them, because we're still living in their past and they are so beyond it. The idea that, our dreams are a way for our subconscious mind to allow our ego and our higher self to reconcile the inconsistencies of this natural world that we live in. The literal things that we, quote unquote, see with our eyes that don't make any sense. And we have these dreams. They showed us very clearly when Tick was on the bus beginning his next step of his hero's journey. He had a dream. It was crazy. It didn't make any sense. A big monster. And then all of a sudden, here comes Jackie Robinson killing the monster, saying, "I got you, kid." How many of us have had dreams that we have discounted as crazy and foolish? And the very message that not only was he the savior for himself, but he was the savior for his whole family, past, present, and future. That's you too. That's me too. Also, can we have a conversation about how generational curses can be transformed into ancestral knowledge for now? It can happen, because if there's a curse, there's an origin, there is a root, there is a story that is perpetuating over and over again from generation to generation to generation. It's not only in our DNA, but it's in our conversations. Because generational curses also manifest from the lack of generation to generation conversations. How do we remedy this? Just imagine if Tick's father, if Montrose could have talked to Tick about the abuse that he got from his father, like the real deal about it, not romanticize the abuse, but really share about how that hurt him and transformed his thinking. How much more powerful would it have been if even Montrose' father probably had a story too? Just imagine how these conversations that we don't have for generation to generation to generation creates the generational curse. We can change that. We can transform the curse into ancestral analysis to heal our family line. You know, the idea that the divine feminine, Hippolyta's journey was beautiful. Name yourself. Name yourself. Could you imagine if we allowed ourselves to understand that the divine feminine is not exclusive to the nurturing, self-sacrificing mother archetype that is presented in the culture? And that's for all cultures, white, black, European. Just imagine, because Ruby, Hippolyta, Christina even, Diana, Letty, and Gia, all bought into a story. Even if they didn't have children, and dedicated themselves. How can we reevaluate what the divine feminine looks like? Because as we look at Hippolyta's powerful episode, once she was able to allow herself to name herself and to really allow herself to be honest about her fears, honest about her desires, dancing with Josephine Baker, and really enjoying the sensuality of being a woman. Then she went and trained with the Amazons to also work out that rage and the power that women also had. And then she finally reconciled with her husband to have the conversation about the idea of shrinking herself that she chose to do. How do we allow ourselves to have these conversations with ourselves? It's so much more. I can go on and on. There's so many more jewels and keys. But like I said, I want you to meet me Sunday, November the 8th at 5 p.m. It's free. Because there are so many keys to unlock our ancestral vaults of power. We got to get this. We got to stop watching these shows and be like, oh, see, I knew that. See, they telling us. What are they telling? What are you understanding? What is your DNA translating to you on the actions for what you need? We can talk about the symbolism of organ harvesting. We can talk about the idea of passing, the idea of Black women wanting to have the privilege and the access of white women. We can talk about the constraints of sexism, where a white woman would have to masquerade as a white male to get things done. And the idea that even though they manipulated themselves into wearing these costumes, that who they were burst through anyway. We're going to talk about that too. Or the idea that white privilege is a form of sorcery and magic. How do we break the spell? And that black magic is a privilege. Why don't we honor it enough? But I'm going to stop right here. I want you to click that link and get the information to get into this discussion that I'm having November the 8th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want to talk about this, and I want you to comment. Which character did you which character gave you the most feeling? Which character did you feel? Was it Tick? And Tick is a whole nother examination about sacrifice of the masculine and what that really means. The idea that Njia, who was molested, but her mother put the sin on the daughter through the form of the kimoku. We need to talk about that. We need to talk. So anyway, I can go on. I'm trying to stop. So you got to meet me on Sunday, November the 8th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The link is with this video. I want you to register. And then most importantly, I want to see you for this free call where we're going to chop it up. I'm going to share some more ancestral keys that I think are so important for us. So until then, I'll talk to you soon. Make sure that you like this video, share it, and let me know which character moved you the most.